Hello and welcome to Boring Dead Gaming, where today I'm going to be playing my second playthrough of Mask of the Rose, Failbetter's romance, murder mystery, visual novel type thing. First thing to say is that if this is your first video in this series, I would recommend going back to my first playthrough of the game, which kind of introduces the mechanics and everything. I'll include the link to that in the description, so do feel free to... There's only 4 videos, it was quite a short playthrough, but feel free to watch that one first, because for this one we'll be doing things a little differently and possibly not quite as the developers intended. At least that's my intention. The first thing to say is that they have released their patch. The game is updated so that each of the seasons, there's 2 seasons in the game, Confessions and Yule. Previously they were 7 days long. They're now double that. They're each 14 days, 2 weeks long, which is great. Gives you double the time to meet people, have conversations, solve the murder mystery, which we barely touched last time, which Archie was then hanged for. So that's good. They also have put more of a tutorial in for elements like the story crafting gameplay, just so you can kind of understand a bit more the intricacies of how that works, which I didn't really. And I think other players, reading the Steam reviews and comments, other players found a little counterintuitive before as well. So hopefully we'll have a better introduction to that and understand what we're meant to be doing with that when it comes to the murder investigation. Yes, so without any further ado, let's go in and make our new character. We'll start a new slot. So we have a... Yeah, it's not our first foray. This is our second foray. So let's create our character. We're going to do all the text as before. It's going to be a very different playthrough. In February 1862, with no warning at all, London fell through the surface of the earth. Love the music. Very evocative. This was meant to be a year of progress in industry, the Great Exposition, trams, a new sewer system. Instead, we find ourselves dwelling in a cave. It's October now, the fires have been put out, the bodies have been buried. But the future remains unimaginable, the time before impossibly distant. So these are the ones that were available previously: Dock Worker, Child of the Gentry, which we were last time, and Tailor. I think that was the other one that was available. So we're going to go with one of the ones that wasn't available. We've got a housebreaker's child. My father was a housebreaker, i.e. burglar. His father was a highwayman. We came down in the world, no longer doing our crimes on horseback, and then my father was arrested. The situation furnishes some connections, not always friendly on both sides of the law. An undertaker. My family were undertakers. We knew everything there was to know about procuring hearses, hiring mourners, and dressing a body. They have some society contacts, and they know their share of vicars. Or an arcane academic. I studied esoteric writings, the hierarchies of spirits, the language of angels, the practical powers of creation. Now, I did this in the demo that I played previously as well. I have friends in high places and am familiar with the church's ways, whether I agree with it or not. I think for a very different type of playthrough, I'm actually inclined to do the housebreaker's child. That's me. Child of crime. Down here, your name is whatever you say it is. Often there's no one left to remember who you used to be. Some people hold tight to the names they carried before. Some reinvent themselves completely. So, what is our title going to be? A lot of people are going to refer to us by this. There is quite a few, if I remember correctly. Okay, so that was all of them. What do I feel like this is? Child of crime. Definitely not high ranking. What does intendant mean? Let's be comrade. I think that probably feels the right one. And before Professor Flirty, we had a great time with, but I want a very different type of playthrough this time. And we're going to go for the complete opposite of Flirty, which is hates love. We're Comrade Hates Love, and we're going to try and go through it being as rude and as unapproachable as we possibly can. And that suits me. That's me. Hates love to my friends, comrade to strangers. Down here, I'm finally able to use the name that always fit me. I'm going to try and not get fired this time as well. We could do with a bit more money, I think. Who looks like a child of crime? Hates love. What's going on there? In the hair, not quite sure. They're all a bit... I mean, there's this one, I suppose. That's a bit brutish, isn't it? Or... No, we're going to have a pipe this time. Let's do that. That's me! Comrade hates love. In the Neath, a true ally means everything. When I find people to be close to, I am open to... None of those. Friendship, but no romantic emotions or physical intimacy. I'll be looking to find people to trust and befriend. Maybe I'll even find some chosen family or do some matchmaking. Comrade hates love, housebreaker's child, heart's desire, friendship. There we go. Right now, I'm meant to be helping with the census, finding out who still lives in my neighbourhood. The first census results are due tomorrow. If I turn them in, I get paid, the first money to come my way in nearly 2 months. If I don't, I'm going to disappoint Grizz badly. She knew I was in trouble, so she went out of her way to find me work with her own employers. She even gave me a badge to show my affiliation. Badge of the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. Very nice, very official. I feel like we're going to be a bit of an official job's worth. I keep it with the clothes I have from before the fall and a few odd items I found more recently. We're going to change. I'm going to wear my prisoner's jacket. My father's prison jacket fits among the criminal fraternity and encourages a confrontational attitude. Oh, brilliant. That's perfect. And, okay, we had that with our previous one as well, but we're going to go with the official census badge. So we're going to be nice and unfriendly to everyone we meet. Ah, I thought you were up here. She glances at the badge I'm wearing. I suppose I should be glad you're thinking about the census, even if you didn't get around to leaving the house. I react to that the way I react to many things these days. I dare to name the frightening things out there. I'm not sure what I'll meet out there. Not everything outside is human. Rumours. Don't let a few odd things in the broadsheets frighten you. Come tomorrow evening. We need to have at least a few census forms... Oh, sorry. Come tomorrow evening. We need to have at least a few census forms filled out. Or I'm going to be the one explaining to Mr. Pages. Ah, the object of our unrequited love is Mr. Flirty. Professor Flirty. And if that happens, I'm not going to help you with your employment prospects again. Grizz works for the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. It seems to agree with her. She wears trousers to work and comes home at all hours. It's very important to her, being taken seriously by these employers. The next thing I do is characteristic too. Confront her with her own mistakes. You didn't ask me until quite late. Nonetheless, you said you could do it when I asked you. What do you think of the questions? They're written in the most peculiar spiked handwriting, and there are punctures in the paper in random spots. I'm going to stare magnificently at her. I stand tall and stare at her without comment. Very good. I had a great aunt who had cultivated just that expression. Here, try the questions on me. Say you've just knocked on the door and I've come to answer it. Yes? What do you want? Well, we'll be official. We're going to be very officious, I think. So introduce myself as an agent of the ministry, showing my badge. Good evening. On behalf of the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting, I have a few questions. Oh, how lovely. I'm so grateful these ministries are looking after us. Challenge her performance. We're going to be very confrontational. I don't think that's what someone would say. More likely they'd sigh or just shut the door in my face. We're starting with an easy one. I'm answering as though it were me. Even you would ask for evidence that I wasn't a housebreaker. Well, child of one. Let's say I recognize the official stamp on your official document. Ask me the first question on the list. Read out the first question. How many people live in this establishmentation? Is that a word? Establishmentation? My superiors are enthusiastic embellishers of the language. If you like, you can translate into questions that are more likely to be understood. Right. How many people live in this establishment? 4. The landlady, Mrs. Horatia Chapman, a young man named Archibald Reed, and a 4th character, very disreputable. Bristle. Right. Make fun of me, then, while I'm trying to do you a favour. I was trying for light humour. It's possible I've lost the knack. Sometimes I'm in the mood to keep chatting, and sometimes I just want to get to the point. We'll linger over the census. We want to get to the other questions. We might be able to use her as a census paper. Is anyone in this establishment enamorificated or impassionated? What does this even mean? They're asking if anyone here is in love. Just ask that. Is anyone here in love? No. Ask whether she's sure about Horatia. What about Mrs. Chapman? I wouldn't assume that she's too old for such feelings. I hadn't considered that. Grizz is always telling people not to make assumptions. She hates to be caught making those assumptions herself. At this moment, a second visitor walks in. Archie is a medical student. He hadn't finished his training before the fall, but he has plenty of work now. Right after the fall, it was broken bones and cuts. Lately, there are fewer wounds and more diseases. I wonder where you were. Point out that he could knock before entering my room. You could have knocked. I'm sorry, Hateslove, but something's happened. Out I went this morning to visit a patient, and what do I find pasted up on the wall? He holds up a broadsheet. There's a new decree from the Ministry of Cartography and Chirography that all maps and atlases are to be surrendered or put on the fire. Is your folk making these rules, Grizz? Take Archie's side and demand to know what's going on. Yes, what is happening, Grizz? What's this about? Will you be asking your Mr. Pages about these maps? One must respect the law. None of us knows what is safe down here in the Neath. Most likely there are reasons you can't imagine. Hateslove, please do collect at least a few census forms by tomorrow, from whatever Londoners you're able to find. At the end of the day, I'll find you and we can take them to Mr. Pages together. Huzzah! Do you know what I miss the most? Back home, my sister's hair turned colour when it rained, blonde to a wet plastered brown. Like a mad hen she looked. Turn the subject to the census. Grizz has me gathering census pages for the ministry. Hey, Grizz told me it was some such thing. Show some doubt. Are you truly free of romantic commitments from before the fall? You've never befriended an especially promising patient? You must have had your share of opportunities. Down here? Aye, there's no one. What about before Judgment Day? There was a lass back home. And what did my mother do but promise me to her? Say nothing. I see. The question has stirred recollections he's not considered for a time. Is it bad to say I've not thought of her since? She has very even teeth. My mother said overlapping teeth in a woman mean defiance, and gaps mean a light skirt. I guess that means a more light-hearted person? I don't really know what that term means. Offer possibly unwelcome views on his mother. By what I can tell, your mother is an interfering old crone. He doesn't look happy, does he? Alright, what's going on with your work? Threaten Archie for an answer. Now, here's a question for you. Defy me and you'll regret it. Is your income all from seeing patients these days? It's no matter what I do between patients. You know enough already about what I do. Use my authority to bully Archie. This badge means that I speak with the authority of the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. Ugh, you nae make of this easy. I did not want trouble. I did sell off a couple of me old atlases, just today. Censored maps sell for a good price if you know the right buyer. Ferret's vermin eradication takes in more than just the rats. If I can ask you a wee thing, you've given the sense that you don't much care for me. You threatened to bring the ministry down on me if I didn't answer your questions. Maybe I've given you some offence. If that's so, I prefer to be on better terms. I don't dislike Archie, that's just how we are with everyone. I didn't mean to cause offence. I did not intend to give offence. I think well of you, I assure you, as well as I do of anyone. You'll say it's my rural upbringing, but I have not known many like you before. An awkward silence falls. I'm glad we decided that. My opinion remains to be seen. I shake my head to clear it. The ruminations are gone. All is as it was. Do we get a census page? I want one. Give me a census page. Oh. Review the day in my journal. Ugh, we just got the one. Or was that from Archie? Or was that from Archie or Grizz? I can't remember. That's fine though. Not much done today. There we go. That used to say 6, so they have double the length of the seasons. That's good. The newspapers aren't what they used to be, but someone is still printing broadsheets these days. The headlines today read: Marchioness accused of liaisons with squid-faced men. Rumours of octopod heir to the Marquisate. If that's how you pronounce that. I pronounce that, I don't know. Okay, let's have a little ruminate on the past then. This is a free action. I'm always reliving London's last night on the surface. I try to put it out of my head, but it's still there. The dimming of the suns at 3 in the afternoon, the sky turning the colour of rust. The horrible bang and the cloud of dust from the direction of Westminster, the tolling of the bells. The horseman who rode down the street, liveried in the garb of the palace, shouting, "In Her Majesty's name, go indoors!" And then the sky was full of bats, more bats than I thought could exist in the world. Wheeling, shrieking, defecating. People went indoors then if they'd ignored the cries. Those that had no house crowded into churches and under the bridges. Even now I don't understand that so many bats could exist in the world. We did the other one previously. It was not only in our part of London, they were everywhere. Perhaps I should say, they are everywhere. I reckon it's a tornado. I heard of something similar in the Welsh Hills back to 1760. Nae light in the sky and a noise like a thunderclap. That's no tornado, love. It's a plague of Egypt. Intervened before they annoyed one another. The newspapers will tell us in the morning what it was. Leastwise, it'll make a good story for the letters home. Glasgow will be envious of our London fashions. Then the ground shook again. I believe we can blame Mr. Basil Get's excavations, digging about under London, causing a seismic disturbance. And what did he find doing there but a cave of 3 million bats? Is that what you reckon? There are stranger things beneath London. That was the beginning of it. But we were down there for hours and hours. The sky darkened, and it didn't return to normal. Once, around midnight, Grizz went upstairs and opened the door to the street, but she came right back down again. She said the cobbles were galloping about. It wasn't safe to walk outside. After that first bit, the memories collide and I get confused. I have trouble keeping track of which came first and which came later, and whether I'm imagining something. I've spent a lot of days like this, thinking back, trying to piece together bits of the puzzle. As if I could realise something that would make sense of it all. We're fine in our outfit, we've got nothing to change into anyway. Well, let's question... let's do these census pages in here. I think we've got loads of time to play with now, so... Let's go and talk to Horatia. Yeah, Went through all that previously. I look magnificent. I find Horatia in the basement taking inventory of our supplies. The night London fell, all Horatia's lodgers gathered in the cellar. Horatia led the hymns while we waited for dawn. Around 3 in the afternoon, we admitted to ourselves that there wasn't going to be a dawn, today or any other day.
Hey, Slav. Oh, it's good to see you.
Since the fall, we have all taken to greeting one another as invalids on the verge of death. The badge makes clear that I'm here for business, not for conversation. Explain that I'm working for the ministry on the census. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census.
I see.
Ask, making it clear this is for the census. What should I write down about the matters of the heart? Were you in love when you were younger?
The butcher at the corner asked me a few times to be his wife. I couldn't say I was tempted. He had 7 children from his marriage before. I believe he was more attracted to the extra rooms in my house than to me. There's a woman who comes to the door just about every morning. Too many children and not enough food. Sometimes I have a penny or some old stew for her.
Wait for the story to end. Horatia tells stories like this sometimes. She doesn't expect advice. I'm sure she knows there's nothing to be done. Ask her about her work. Simply ask whether she does anything else besides run the household. You don't have any secret businesses besides running the household, do you?
The house has been my business for a long time now. My father left it to me. He bought it so I'd have a good place to live. He didn't want to leave it up to whether I'd find a husband. There's a stew in the kitchen that needs looking after.
I just have time for one more errand today before supper. We're going to go and census Grizz. And that'll be 3 shiny pennies. Or actually, should we do someone else? Maybe we'll do Harjit. Alright, let's take the census with Harjit. Wonder how he's going to react to our criminal's jacket. Harjit admires duty, but does not always care for the ministry. It's hard to say what impression the badge makes on him. I look magnificent. The streets outside Mrs. Chapman's are not easy. Thanks to the criminal confraternity, I do know 1 or 2 questionably reputable places around town. Oh, ferret shop. He's the local exterminator, I guess you'd say. But whenever I need to find more of them, it's Harjit who helps me. I have something for you if you want it. He produces a nearly new admiral's hat in perfectly good condition. I found it near the docks. No sign of the owner, and I can't wear it myself. I thought someone at Mrs. Chapman's might get use out of it. Perhaps Lady Griselda. Yay, we got a hat. It makes us be grumpier. Clothes make an impression on other people when I wear them. They make an impression on me, too. Sometimes I'm inspired to say things I wouldn't otherwise. I have the feeling this particular hat would make me a bit gruff and commanding. Well, we're going to put it on my head. Mutter ungraciously, influenced by the hat. I hope the Admiral wasn't afflicted with lice. Oh, leave it in a cupboard for 2 weeks if it concerns you. You're welcome. Explain that I'm working for the Ministry on the Census. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on the census. I see. London was determined to collect everyone's name even before the fall. Information is needed for planning. The idea is to find out how many mouths need feeding. A list like that is never put to only one use. But never mind, you do not have to explain yourself to me. Not while I'm wearing this uniform, at any rate. What do you wish to know? Ask, making it clear this is for the census. We seduced Harjit in the previous playthrough. The census asked me to report on your household, whether you live alone or with others, that sort of thing. At one time I shared my lodgings. That was prior to the fall, but my former companion is missing. Ask, making it clear this is for the census. What should I put down about your romantic attachments? For the census, that is. This is not a matter I would explain to most people. You and I have known one another for some time, however. I think you would hear me out kindly, but if you would rather not carry my secrets, I mean, we know from the other playthrough his secret. But we're going to decline, because we're grumpy. Perhaps it is better if you don't in that case. I don't like to promise confidences I don't know what I'm about to hear. An honourable answer. It's best not to promise what you can't be sure of giving. For the sake of the Ministry, I feel inclined to say. Silence falls. Right, we can ask about some new destinations. We never went in the synagogue before. Maybe we should. Do you know where the synagogue is? I worked out the way to the Tenterground Synagogue. There are a lot of people in that area today. So we walk together, and every few moments Harjit stops to point out a landmark, or draw attention to the places where the air smells different, or the sound of church bells can be heard. Here we go. Oh, it's David and Rachel, I want to say. They peer over my badge. I'm not familiar with that ministry. It's new. Oh, we're on our way to services, so this is not a suitable time for ministry business. Wait here, Rachel, or you can stand to the side if you want, wherever you're comfortable. I'll speak with this person. It won't take long. Shouldn't, anyway. Present myself as strong, if unfriendly. I go by Hateslove, though I don't want to meet you, and it's plain you don't like the look of me either. It's the fall that's done it. Can't keep out to our old circles these days, can we? David and Rachel Landau. Rachel is my sister. What can we do for you? Explain that I'm working for the Ministry on the census. The Ministry of Accounting and Recounting have asked me to work on their census. David looks faintly mutinous. I'll answer your questions, comrade, if you answer mine. Call it character research. Are you having peculiar dreams down here? Yeah, we kind of want to get this line going, so we will do this. My housemate is a doctor. Well, almost a doctor. He's been called to see to people with strange dreams constantly. Does he report them back to you, or better yet, does he keep a ledger? Oh, he only gives me the outlines. He doesn't give away the secrets of his patients. Commendable. Inconvenient. Go ahead with your questions, comrade. Let's find out what she means about the research. What did you mean when you said I had a question about character research? I write novels. They are published, one chapter at a time, in the Lily of London magazine. I was in the midst of one when the fall happened. My publisher insisted that I continue the story despite all. Rachel, are you certain you want to share so much? Does it matter? Surely those precautions are behind us? Ask what her story is about. What are you writing about? If you take the Lily of London, comrade, you may have the pleasure of reading my next chapter yourself. Though I confess I'm at a standstill as to what it will contain. My heroine was meant to set off for Paris and there to be reunited with her lost beloved. But as the fall has transpired in fiction as well as in fact, I must resign myself to the courtship is ruined. Show no sympathy. That's nothing compared to what some of us suffer. You've upset her as well. He's smiling. Let's take census information about David. Assert myself against David's dominance. Let's answer the easiest questions first. David doesn't look entirely encouraging, but I forge ahead anyhow. Who else lives in your household? Our home contains myself, my brother, and our housekeeper. It isn't a grand establishment. We had another housekeeper for many years, but she passed away, and Phoebe, our servant, had lost her place with a neighbour of ours. Ask from a position of authority. There's something I'd like to know. It's important. David doesn't look entirely encouraging, but I forge ahead anyhow. Are you married? In love? Oh, not recently. I was in love once, or so I imagined. Charlotte Carringham. She and David had an understanding. She converted in any case. Becoming Christian suited her social aspirations. Rachel. Yes, yes. I take leave to dislike your unworthy suitors as heartily as you dislike mine. Milton is a yellow-eyed, flash-dressed, hot-handed creature at least 2 decades too old for my sister. Rumours of devils are frequent in the city. Perhaps Milton is one of them. I hardly think he and Charlotte are comparable. Laugh at their dispute. Apologies for stirring up a bit of family trouble. Let's move on, shall we? I turned my census curiosity on Rachel. Oh, I got one for David, that's good. Ask from a position of authority. I like this hat. It suits this character. I need you to tell me something. If you don't answer, I'll know you have something to hide. Rachel doesn't look entirely encouraging, blah, 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 blah. Forge ahead anyway. Are you married? In love? No, at least that isn't what I'd call it. Just as well, too. In times before, you would never have darkened the door of such a person. Before you cast me as the intolerant brother hates love, you should know what we're speaking of. Milton smokes rose-scented cigars. Or we could try and take census information about Phoebe. I'm going to assert myself again. I need you to tell... Oh, hang on. Sorry. That was... when you push mouse up, wheel up, it does that automatically. I need you to tell me something. I require an answer. Blah, 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 but I forge ahead anyhow. Who is your housekeeper, then? She's called Phoebe. She's been with us for years. She is an Irishwoman, Catholic, in a quiet way, with no relatives in London. My mother offered her the position as a kindness when she was destitute. And her surname? Phoebe Riley. Oh, yes, of course, that's it. Did she say she was Irish? Oh, she is. I didn't do an Irish accent for her before. We'll remember to do that this time. Please don't tell her I'd briefly forgotten. How mortifying. It would make no difference. She is not under any illusion that you are interested in her family. Let them continue arguing. I suppose you, of course, have learned her life story? Her father was a hedge scholar, passing from village to village, secretly teaching students the things English had forbidden. Forbidden? What sort of thing? Greek, Latin, a bit of Irish history. At least how that's I reconstruct it from Phoebe's description. Her father travelled and her mother didn't have much money, but he did leave her the name as an illusion. I'm surprised she told you so much. She doesn't talk to me about that part of her life. Perhaps she fears it would appear in novelised form. Ask David about his work. We didn't get a thing for that. Sour the mood somewhat. When I reply, my tone is harsh. You're not the sort to maintain your wealth gambling, I trust? Certainly not. I don't play cards or bet on horses, and for that matter I do not speculate in diamond mines or questionable railways being built in a distant country. I allow the question to stand. We have money in the funds and interest in several businesses in London and elsewhere. The time was when I used to be very busy in answering letters from Livorno, from Amsterdam. These days my time is not so extensively occupied. We must be going. We're already late. Everything is always running too slowly, and yet every day is the same. You've set loose 1 or 2 ideas, for which I certainly owe you something. She produces a card and hands it to me. It provides her address and guidance to reach it. Hey, we've got their townhouse now as well. Okay, that's good. It's where we met them previously. I didn't even realise you could meet them here. Goodbye, then. My opinion remains to be seen. Time for supper. Let's go straight to the table. Grizz is waiting for me. Whatever census forms you have ready, it is time to take them to Mr. Page's. Boast of my exceptional success. I have several census forms already, completely filled out. Oh, for my part, I spent the day trying to prevent the masters from taking a singularly ill-advised decision. I cannot talk about it, of course. It wouldn't do to betray their confidence. But you have me to thank all the same. Follow me. Once I've shown you how to reach the ministry, you can come back on your own and turn in others. Grizz has me gather my papers. With luck, Mr. Pages will decide to keep you on. With that, she leads me outside and down a side street that is no longer named. The ways run narrow between the backs of buildings. They have no doors on the ground floor, only windows on the first, the second, and the third, from which to supervise and throw out slops. How could an angry mob get at the bazaar? By the time they'd filed through, they'd have ditched their pitchforks. Their torches would be swallowed by the dank. Finally, we find ourselves standing in its shadow under its walls. Before us is a low door that once, I think, belonged to a solicitor's office. Grizz takes out a key made of something other than metal and unlocks that door. Mind the pile of papers? I've already sorted them 3 times. Mr. Pages is very particular about the ordering of documents. Now, where has he gone? He usually is here by this time of day. Ah, there you are, sir. We were just coming to bring you the census documents. A first instalment of many, I'm sure. There is a tone in her voice, somewhere between fondness and a nanny guiding an untutored child. I don't want to get fired, just ignore the mood. Mr. Pages, may I present Hateslove? Hateslove, this is Mr. Pages. The whole Ministry of Accounting and Recounting is under Mr. Pages' direction. Express gratitude for the job. Thank you very much for offering me employment. The opportunities in London aren't what they used to be.
Grizz assures us that they are improvicated. It is highly gratifactory that the populace of London appreciates their move.
Bow deeply. We're going to be obsequious to authority, I've decided. With the very powerful, one must align oneself carefully.
What have you brought us?
Horatia.
Ah, most intertrigant.
Gives me a shiny penny for my trouble. It's newly minted and has a portrait on the back of someone who is certainly not the Queen. The face on the back of the coin stares at me until the hair prickles on my neck. It reminds me of a debt owed, and I don't want to remember. And my breath hitches and slows and resumes. Okay, keep going.
This one is of interest. Familificent, lacking auxiliary.
I don't have a filing index for that combination.
I will designate a sigil and a suitable ink.
The colours on the last sigil burn my eyes.
What else is there?
Archie. Page offers me 2 pennies from a jar, bringing my stash to 3. There are other coins in there, and a few things that aren't even coins. Buttons, pearls, probably false. A horse head carved from ivory or bone.
The quality of your information impresses us this time. We did not expect much from Archie. Undercurrent Grizz having already revelated that he is a lightless character. Do you have anything more?
Hodget. Mr. Pages takes the census page eagerly and spends some time scanning it. There is something it is looking for, something it keeps looking for that it cannot find.
There is some unrevelated matter here. It will be good to discover. Do you have anything more?
Rachel? Mr. Pages pays. Then it puts the census page in a stack of others much like it. It weighs the stack down with a paperweight. If I look too hard at the paperweight, my eyes sting. It looks through the sheets of the form in its usual way. It doesn't find much to interest it in the account of Rachel's romantic life. It is much more intrigued by her employment.
She invents love stories? From nothing?
There are any number of novels printed every year in London. The price of paper was recently reduced.
These stories we will acquire. If they are suitable, then we will also acquire the authoress.
Surely you mean hire the authoress?
You refer to mere employment or rentification? No.
Offer to arrange an introduction. Her current novel is being printed 1 chapter at a time in the magazine The Lily of London.
Does its story pertain to lovers? Are they disappointed and crushed in their aims?
The story has not yet come to an end.
I see. Still of a kind to be shaped.
I could make sure she and Grizz are acquainted. Then Grizz could commission her to be sure the novels are suitably written.
Yes, do this.
Okay.
Do you have anything more?
David? The trick is not to look at the back of the penny at all.
It seems he cares for his sister more than any other. Nonetheless, his affections are prolific. There's some promise in that.
The business of the census is done for now. Perhaps I've earned a question. Ask why maps need to be outlawed. Why aren't we allowed to have maps and atlases anymore? We need them more than ever. London isn't arranged where it used to be. I believe the Ministry intends to resurvey the territory. In the meantime, it wouldn't do, you know, to have people using fallacious maps.
The territory of the Neath is anti-dispossificated towards lying still.
Nod sagely. Keep him on side. That is enough of my official duties for the moment. Grizz accompanies me out again when it is time to go. She makes a couple of remarks about how useful this will be, though she stops short of asking whether I'm in debt to Horatia. I haven't forgotten, though. Yeah, we will do that. As we make our way back to Horatia's, Grizz asks me what I think of Mr. Pages. She tries to make it sound like an idly curious question. Boastfully commit to more work. Mr. Pages thought well of me. It seems I'm more reliable than you thought. That could have gone worse, but don't build yourself a statue yet. Before we go back inside the house, she reminds me. We have many more people in the neighbourhood to survey for the census. You know how it's done now, so you can collect them and take them to Mr. Pages yourself. I have other duties, and I may not always be there, but Pages is... Well, I'm certain you won't be harmed if you visit the Ministry on your own. Snap at her. I understand well enough, thank you. You don't need to explain over and over. I'm not a child. I have no friends at this rate. Archie finds me upstairs after dinner. I cannot stop thinking on the Ministry of Cartography. There is something not quite right there. If you'd let me show you what I'm thinking of. Express criminal enthusiasm. Those that make the laws are usually the most suspicious. Aye, you have something there, at least in this case. It's a way of sorting out my thoughts. When I started, it was to think through a treatment. But it's good for all sorts, stories, schemes, things that might be true, or things that don't have to be. While he's talking, he's getting out some bits of paper written over in his own handwriting. We do know this, but there is a more in-depth tutorial about this. I'm going to skip it. I have a friend below that can take what we learn and put it about in the papers. I told him I knew someone that might be able to bring back a few secrets of the ministry. You got the way of it. Questions to ask anyone who reply. Answers to bring back to me. If you don't mind giving Mr. Pages all manner of stories about the people that live below, then you can go on with it. But if you'd rather another way to making your bread, you might investigate while you're there. Ask him questions. Ask other people questions about him. Find out a thing or two. If you make up the questions you want to ask, you can investigate with anyone who might answer. Earn your pennies helping the citizens rather than those creatures in their blankets. Okay. We didn't really touch this before, did we? It doesn't hurt to promise, though. I am with you. The truth matters more than the ministry's convenience. I am glad to hear you say so. It's not as a thing fighting the doubts of me own. With Horatia telling me I've the fidgets, and Grid saying I should be quiet and trust the robe-wearing masters, I shall let you get your sleep. I'll see you later then. Till I see you at supper then. Any wages on what Horatia's cooking tonight? Oh, better not to ask. My opinion remains to be seen. I think we can go straight to sleep. Tomorrow we're gonna just head out and explore London a bit more. Maybe meet some more characters we didn't know. I mean, there were whole characters implicated in our murder theory last time. We never even met the first time round, so we want to try and do that. I want to try and get to know the tentacle guys below as well. Another morning, another newspaper. I'll just continue until it auto-saves. I think I've got to do this headline first. Archie bought one, and the headlines read, "Population of rats and spiders in London said to have tripled overnight." There we go, saved. So I'm going to say that let's leave it there for now. So when we come back, we're going to, as I said, head out to London. We'll continue doing census stuff, getting to know some more people, get to know some more locations. Got plenty of time to play with, which is nice. Maybe we'll try and work on a story or something, like for the Masters, what they're up to. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this new playthrough of Mask of the Rose. I think there are future updates planned as well that might change the game in some ways, but we're going to continue with this for now and just see how this extended timeline will maybe help us get Archie off the hook at the end. You never know. But if you did enjoy it, as I hope you did, please do hit the thumbs up button on the video. Leave me a comment. What do you think about Comrade Hateslove versus Professor Flirty? I know Flirty is probably going to be more fun, but hopefully this is going to be fun in a different way, just being rude to everyone. But let me know what you think anyway. And if you're watching this and haven't already subscribed to the channel, it'd be amazing if you could do so. It'd be great to have you on board. So thanks once again, and I hope to see you next time for more Mask of the Rose. Bye for now.